CGR is made from footage that I recorded myself and didn't steal from others. All Classic Game Room backers on Patreon get the hyper version of this review ad-free with extra footage. Banished from Earth, Classic Game Room broadcasts from the intergalactic space arcade on its never-ending mission to review everything. Welcome to Classic Game Room, where Mecha March Madness Month continues with the review of Cybernator on the Super Nintendo. Enjoy! From 1993, this is Cybernator from NCS and Konami, one of my favorite Super Nintendo games. And a game I only recently discovered, but I absolutely love it. And it's not hard to see why. Giant robot, lasers, spaceships. Sold! Thankfully, the gameplay is as awesome as you hope it'll be. It's a bit slow, but you are piloting a giant mech after all, and the controls are fantastic. It plays really well. And Cybernator is quite tricky and gets really difficult in the later levels. It's got that beautiful 16-bit look to it. I love the graphics in Cybernator. The music's a bit hit or miss for me in this one. I'm gonna have to go there and say this one would be better with the Aeroflash soundtrack from the Sega Genesis. But all joking aside, the art design is solid. It's got that great early 90s anime-inspired look to it. It's just a cool game from start to finish. If you can finish it, I'll show you a little trick to help out with that later on. Something involving napalm. Always fun at parties. So check it out. The R button on your Super Nintendo controller deploys the shield. You're like a little Gundam. And that's helpful when fighting some of these smaller enemies that just tend to be pesky and annoying. Sadly, you can't stomp on the people in this game. That's one thing I wish they would have added, obviously. The L button will lock your firing into position, which is handy for strafing enemies and gun turrets and whatnot. As you play through Cybernator, you collect weapons, and you can upgrade those independently and switch between them in combat. But there's really only one or two that you need to worry about. The Vulcan cannon is a good all-purpose weapon. That's the machine gun. Later in the game, you get the laser, which is fabulous when you upgrade that thing. The missiles aren't too bad. You can punch enemies if you need to. And then there's the napalm gun. The napalm gun is a thing of beauty. It's like a flamethrower combined with a missile launcher. And you'll get that if you can pilot your way through the first level without shooting anything except the end boss. And that's actually easier than it sounds. The napalm gun really shifts the odds in your favor, but it doesn't make the game a cakewalk because it's not very good at destroying the smaller enemies that you can't stomp on. Why can't you stomp on the smaller enemies? Come on, go back and redesign this. You'll want to shift to your laser or machine gun for those bad guys. I wish they would have added little screaming sounds when the people jump off the edge. But then it would have been Metal Slug. Not that there's anything wrong with that. As you've probably noticed by now, you can rotate your gun turret, but sometimes it's just handy to lock it in place so things don't get complicated. And I've really got to compliment the designers on the backgrounds in Cybernator. It makes you feel like you're going somewhere throughout the whole game. You start in space, you fight through space stations, then you blast your way through a mountain range. It's just a really attractive game. It's got that retro cool style that everybody tries to copy now. Of course, back in the day it wasn't retro, it was just modern. And I think it's definitely a requirement for the genre that it has a cave level, which of course it does. Did I mention you can jump and hover? I probably don't have to, but you can. Solid game and a perfect addition to Mecha March Madness. This isn't one that you hear about very often, but it's fairly easy to collect, reasonably affordable online for your Super Nintendo. And I've got a classic game room shout out and thank you to send to Mark from Bremen, Germany once again. Thank you, Mark, for Cybernator and all the other awesome games you sent. Have Giant Lethal Robot, Will Travel. I think those are the sewer sleds from Akira, aren't they? Seems like the right time period. Cool game, highly recommended, and there's a lot of replay value in here because of the multiple weapon selection options. Also, you can collect some extra continues, search for a code online if you need them. Which you might. Good fun, Cybernator, highly recommended. Here's what's new this week at the Classic Game Room Patreon. Packaging reviews of Super Mario Maker and Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm 4. The Classic Game Room secret review of Star Wars Cheez-Its. Coming soon, the extended cut review of Earth Defense Force 2. Special edition Cheez-Its, no less. Special edition Cheez-Its. Thank you for watching. Follow Classic Game Room on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Patreon. If you like this review, then you'll love my review of Robo Army on the Neo Geo. Watch it now. Welcome to the club. It's the Lord Carnage Club, where I give thanks to these backers on Patreon. Starting with Jim Moriarty, Sergio Matthias Hergert, Zach Brenner, yeah! Jason from Kamloops, British Columbia, Busy Signal, yeah! Woo! Shadow Minion 4, Lord Carnage, Al Stiver, Sean Zoltek. Nah, I'm just kidding. Sean Zoltek, Stephen Chucknick from New Jersey, Landon Ellerby, so Lando, Philip Straubenmuller of Vienna, Austria, Jack Stavris from Australia, Ohad Kane, Jeff, Captain Dauntless, Briar, Rick, DeBarros, Will, Kid Shuriken, and Chip Sankbale. See you next time on Classic Game Room. Mark 3!